The conclusion to my gravestone venture is here. We've gone through making the original masters, molding them in silicone, using those molds to make resin casts, and now a couple of different ways to paint and stylize these grave markers. If you haven't seen the previous two videos, I recommend you check those out. But for now, go ahead and sit back while I make these ones look super dope. I wanted to test two different ways of painting, and initially I thought I would paint one with my airbrush and then one with a more traditional paintbrush, but after reflecting for a moment and looking at my technical paints, I decided that I would prime them differently, but do most if not all of the painting with my regular paintbrush. I've got to say, in terms of priming, there really isn't much of a difference between using a rattle can and an airbrush for terrain, at least in my opinion. I suppose that is given that you aren't flooding the piece with paint, but you can do that using either method. So if that is a problem you face, well, don't flood the mini with paint. And I suppose that might be easier said than done, but an easy trick is to just hold the airbrush or the rattle can a bit farther away from the mini and do light passes of paint until you get the level of paint on the mini that you want. I have two random things I'd like to mention here real quick. First, I want to thank all of my patrons for their support. This is huge and I really appreciate it, and it goes a long way in helping me produce these videos. And two, I have an extra airbrush that I don't need. It's not the best on the market, but it's new and gets the job done. I'm going to give this to someone who comments on my Instagram photo for this video, so if you're interested, head to my Instagram to learn the details. Okay, that's all. For the one that I spray painted, I decided to go with a green, patchy grass look. Maybe it's like towards the end of summer or something along those lines. I'm imagining this is also in an older cemetery that gets maintenance, but maybe not as regularly as it needs. This is pretty self-explanatory. I painted the ground brown, and then I sprinkled on actual dirt over a little bit of glue, and then some grass flocking that I applied, and I did this all by hand. There is no right or wrong way to do this. When applying the glue, I guess I did it as random as I could because I wanted to achieve a sort of patchy look, and I think this turned out pretty good. I also used Agrax Earthshade to bring the brown dirt down to a darker color that I liked better, and then applied more grass as well as grass tufts. After that, it was a clear varnish, and to me this piece is off to the races. It's ready for the table. With the second one, I wanted to try something specific and eye-catching. And I don't know about you, but I'm a sucker for snow effects on bases and dioramas. I think it's an easy way to instantly tell a story about the environment, and in the back of my mind, I was also imagining that these were the exact same gravestones, just at a different time of year, and depending on the game that you're playing, that could be really enjoyable for your players and the lore of your world. A Grelin Earthshade is what this is called, by the way, in case you missed the visual cue. This will crack and look like dead earth when it's dried. I didn't want to add a lot of grass because it would probably mostly die out during the winter months, leaving just the tall, brownish dead tufts behind. This next part is where I just start mixing glue, white paint, and the Army Painter snow flocking in a cup until I get a consistency that I enjoy. In this case, I wanted a melty snow effect, so I went heavy on the glue until the mixture would settle smoothly on its own. I covered the areas I thought would still have some leftover snow, including the tops of the gravestones themselves. And as this snow mixture was still wet, to add the slurry effect, I added some Vallejo water effects to the parts of the earth that I left uncovered from the snow. This really gave it a good, watery, slushy look, and I was really stoked about that. This one needed overnight to dry and cure before I could really see what it looked like, but the end result I'm actually really happy with. This one turned out way better than I thought it was going to. I suppose whether you're playing D&D or Warhammer or any other tabletop game to this approximate scale, something like these grave markers could come in really handy. I know they will for me. If you make something similar, or you're itching to get your hands on one of these, leave me a comment and we can talk about it. If you are new here, welcome. I'm so glad to have you around, and I appreciate each and every one of you. I've got links in the description for more content and avenues to support me. I hope everyone is making time to hobby, but most importantly, have a good day. Peace out.